But let's get into the racetracks. Why don't we
Let's
start?
talk about them. Yeah.
You want to start?
Okay. Yeah. Sure.
Great. So let's start with Aqueduct.
Okay. So I have this big book here.
There we go.
I'm gonna start with telling everyone that, and you, Mike, Aqueduct Racetrack
Yes.
is also attached to a casino
Yeah.
called Resorts World.
Yes.
And what they call that is a racino.
Oh.
Have you ever heard that term?
No, I haven't.
I haven't either. I thought it was very cute. It's just a racetrack and a casino combined.
Yeah.
I was like, what's a racino? And I thought that there'd be some sort of special description, but it's a racetrack and a casino, and they've mashed it together.
Yeah.
But also, while I was reading about it, I think it has something to do with the fact that there aren't in the casino, there aren't dealers, like physical people in person dealing out cards. There's only electronic devices. And I think there's different levels of casino. So apparently in 2023, New York City is supposed to be allowed to start bidding on full-fledged casinos. That might even get pushed earlier since there's all these financial issues right now.
Right.
But yeah, there's something about the racetrack element that makes, I guess because there's already betting happening at the racetrack, they allow some types of other gambling to happen.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like, it's some kind of loophole. Honestly, like all of this, I've never been to a racetrack that I know of. I've never gambled at a casino. Like, it's all so new to me. I don't really understand any of it. So I might be getting a little bit confused, but it seems like the racino is sort of like, a way to get extra money in the purse is what they said.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, historically, from what I've gathered, and it was really like trying to make the decision for like how deep to dive on these topics, because we were talking about the racetracks and then we go into casinos, which leads to the history of gambling in New York State.
Yeah.
And there has been at various times attempts to curtail gambling and horse racing as a consequence in the state, which maybe that's why they have these weird rules about, the types of casino operations that can happen.
Yeah.
And with gambling rules recently relaxing in recent years, I think it's going to be coming back. But it is the only casino in the city currently.
It's the only casino that's actually in the confines of the 5 boroughs.
Right.
There's a couple casino, like there's one right outside the Bronx, Empire. There's another one, I think, slightly south and over. Like, there's a couple that are sort of just outside of the city limits. But yeah, at the moment, the Resorts World, I believe, is the only one actually in the city.
And Atlantic City, obviously.
Right.
And like Mohegan Sun in Connecticut.
Casino is one that opened near where I grew up.
Yeah.
Like within the last 10 years.
Yeah.
Speaking of what you just said, the gambling rules changing so much over time. One thing that's I thought was kind of interesting and like maybe a little fishy. Resorts World opened in 2011. And
wow, it's been there that long?
Oh, I thought that seemed new in my
it is new, but it also
opinion.
I don't know. Go on.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's also like basically like almost as long as either of us has lived here.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I feel like we would have known. If it was more recent, I feel like I would have heard like, oh, there's a casino. Like, I feel like there would have been more rumbling about it. But they were doing all sorts of different negotiations for almost 10 years leading up to that.
Yeah.
Of different groups bidding for it. And there was one organization that was going to open it, and they had the contract for 2 years, but then they couldn't make a $350 million prepayment to the city, so they lost their contract, so they had to open up bidding all over again. And then when they finally got the company that has it right now, which is a Malaysian company, I forget what they're called, but then they start partnering with all sorts of different people, and then that's like a whole nother system. And at one point Jay-Z was involved, but then there was some kind of like quid pro quo thing that was like being said was happening. So then Jay-Z had to back out so the other guy could like keep his standing in the casino. And like
Right.
this is also all from Wikipedia, so like you can go read it, but I was reading it last night and then I fell asleep and then I read it again today and was also like, it's really just like lists of like long lists of names of like all these people were involved and then all these people were involved and then there was Jay-Z and like, yeah, it's very like, I don't know, it seems just really convoluted, the whole thing, getting this thing built.
Yeah.
But in the time that happened, I guess off-track betting was having a hard time. And in 2010 was when off-track betting financially collapsed and permanently closed. But Resorts World opened in 2011. And apparently the Aqueduct saw a 61% increase in one day.
Okay.
Because of off-track betting closing.
Right.
And coming to their facilities. And they started offering free shuttle bus services from old OTB branches. And then with that free shuttle bus, you would also get a free hot dog, a free soft drink, and a post-parade program.
Okay.
There was like the little number that's above, not a footnote, but whatever. I could have clicked on that. I didn't.
Yeah. Citation?
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
About the post-parade program. Maybe we'll find out later.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's get to just the history of the Aqueduct real quick.
Sure.
So it was opened in 1894.
Okay.
So if you think Resorts World has been around for a while,
right,
the Aqueduct has been around for a real long time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they were opened by the Queens County Jockey Club at that time. It was named after the Ridgewood Aqueduct.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, which we've talked about before on here.
Yeah, way back before we even started walking.
Yeah.
When we were in hard quarantine.
Yeah.
We went to the Aqueduct because it's within normal walking distance of our house.
Yeah, it's not too far from here at all. Yeah, and I guess at the time, it was considered to be close by.
Yeah.
Which is fun. That's like what it said. Oh, it was named after the nearby waterway.
Right.
Which now, I don't think anyone in Ridgewood would really consider the aqueduct near JFK to be like close by. Not in the same way. Like it
it's
seems
like 4 or 5 miles,
far.
I think.
Yeah, and just probably with all the development now, like at the time it was also probably just more like open land.
Yeah.
And 4 to 5 miles really isn't that far in open land, but in a cityscape.
Yeah.
It's like many neighborhoods apart too.
Right.
So in 1955, the aqueduct changed hands. It was taken over by the Greater New York Association, which is also the NYRA, which I see that acronym a lot. And I guess you know about them because they also own Belmont, Saratoga, and the Jamaica Racecourse, which is no longer a racecourse. It's now a housing projects in Jamaica.
That's right. So yeah, they owned it and then I think flipped it immediately. Well, within 4 years, flipped it.
Yeah, I read something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then right around the time when they took over, they did a 2-year, $33 million renovation on the aqueduct. And part of that was to switch out one of the tracks that had previously been a turf course to make it a dirt course.
Yeah.
And I guess because it has a dirt course, it can be open year-round.
Right.
Something about puddling or something.
Okay.
So they have 3 courses at the aqueduct. They have the main track, which is the dirt course. That's 1 mile and 1/8.
Okay.
1 1/8 mile. There's the main turf course, which is 1 mile. And then there's the inner turf course, which is not measured in miles. It is 7.065 furlongs.
Yeah.
which is a word I've never heard. Like, I rode horses for 10 years. I've never heard of a furlong. And then I looked it up. Yeah, and it's not even a horse term. It's just like a old, stupid unit of measure. I'm sorry, furlongs. But I guess it's just like an old, like, king's measurement.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm familiar with the term. I couldn't tell you what the exact length is.
It's, well, 8 furlongs is a mile.
Oh, okay. There you go.
But I guess the furlong is I forget the word for it, but it's like an old sort of type of measurement that is just used in very specific cases.
Yeah.
So that's the racetrack.
Yeah. Well, why don't we talk about our experience of actually going there?
Yeah, let's talk about it.
So, for starters, I was thinking about how to describe it as far as like going there. And I feel like it's like no other place I've been to in New York City, but like many places I've been to outside of New York City.
Really?
I think so, yeah.
Oh. Well, when we first, okay.
I mean, not like 1,000 places, but like it definitely feels similar in the way that things are spaced.
As far as like, what part of it are we talking about? Because there's really kind of like 3 sections, I'd say, that we experienced.
Okay.
There's the parking lot.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you're talking about?
I'm talking
about... There's like
about
leading up to it.
Well, what are your 3 spaces?
Okay. So there's the parking lot leading up to it.
Uh-huh.
There's the racetrack itself, which we were not able to enter, but we could see from a bird's eye view in the 3rd space, which is the casino.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I'm referring to the exterior space.
Okay.
Which surrounds Aqueduct itself.
Yeah. Okay, I agree with you on that then, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. It feels like a big old parking lot.
It feels clean and new. The fact that it was from 2011 was why it was surprising to me. They have these like big triangular islands within the parking lot area that are filled with light stone gravel.
Right.
To make everything look kind of clean. And it immediately got snowed on the rest of the week, but we did get a chance to see it. But it was unusual in how it was fairly well manicured. And again, just not something that you would see in New York City, like all this space and fairly new looking construction.
Yeah. Well, the hotel that's there is brand new, like within the year.
Yeah.
So maybe maybe they did some sort of like cleaning up, fancying up.
Maybe, yeah. It's also currently the site of COVID vaccinations.
Right. Yeah.
Which was interesting because approaching it on the first day and really most subsequent days, it felt like there was all this traffic that was driving around, but also this weird sense of vacancy, as though all of the traffic was simulated. Like we were in a video game and it was like AI or something.
Sure, yeah, I can see how you would see it that way.
Yeah, and it may just be because I'm unused to a space seeming operational right now.
It definitely did seem operational. Also, yeah, I mean, when there's a lot of traffic in New York City, it's so rare that it's flowing well. And it was like there were 2 lanes and there were like people coming in, there were people going out.
Yeah.
And I don't think anyone was honking, like no one was going the wrong way,
Right.
No one was like trying to make a weird turn anywhere. They were just like coming in or going out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so when we knew we were going to be doing this walk and we also knew that the Aqueduct was a vaccine site, I was at least curious, like, you know, I had heard stories of at the end of the day, people are going out onto the street that work there saying like, oh, we have a few extra doses, like if anyone's out here. And I don't get the feeling that that's happening there because the vaccine site is so far from where anyone would typically be walking.
Yeah.
Like the fact that we were just doing this project this week brought us down all the way to that spot. But no one would ever be walking there, just like casually. I mean, maybe they go offer vaccines to people in the casino or something, but it really was removed. Like it was in the most far part of the parking lot possible.
Yeah, it seemed that way.
Yeah.
So that was there's also a train stop, an A train stop that goes right there. And that seems to funnel in right into, I don't know if it funnels into the racetrack seating or the casino, probably both.
I think it's both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it kind of goes overhead into that area.
Yeah, I think it might kind of like split off.
Yeah.
But I don't know. We didn't actually walk up that part.
And then the part 2 would be the casino, which we made the decision to go into on our final day, which is today. We're recording at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And yeah, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, sure. Well, so when you said that the outside reminded you of nowhere in New York City, the inside of the casino weirdly reminded me of Spa Castle. That was the first thing I thought of when we walked in there. Yeah, I mean, I would really like to go back there post-COVID. It was a little weird. I mean, we like kind of went in. I like expected to be carded and I expected to have to like do something before going in. Like I expected someone to at least like acknowledge us.
Yeah.
And there was security and there was some like weird heat sensor thing we had to walk through. There were all these signs that were like, you're walking through a temperature check.
Yeah.
But it was basically like going through those huge Easy Pass things that don't actually have the booths where like, I don't know how it worked. But yeah, no one like stopped us. And then it was all very confusing. Like it felt like you had to just like know what you were doing. It was really loud. They were playing I'm blue, a dabba dee. I was green, I would die. Blue. How does that song go? I'm blue, if I were green, I would die.
Is that what the words are?
I'm blue, a dabu dee, dabu die. I think it's I remember in elementary
Eiffel
school.
65?
Yeah,
Eiffel.
that's right. I remember in elementary school, kids would say, I'm blue, if I were green, I would die. But then I never knew if those were the real words because it just sounds like a dabu dee, dabu die.
They were also playing Beck and Green Day.
Yeah.
And yeah.
But then there's like all the noises of the machines and it's very chaotic. And I think like I was overwhelmed by like feeling like it's like weird that there's people in here right now.
There were a
like,
lot of people
during COVID. That's what I felt too, but I also am not sure how much of that was just like there was also just like a lot happening. Like it's buzzy and it's huge. And like it wasn't crowded by any means, but it felt like there are a lot of people in here. So we kind of just like went in, used the bathroom. I put $10 into a slot machine and like it was gone in 5 minutes. So I also understand, well, I didn't know how to use the slot machine.
Right.
I like was like also spent quite a bit of time just being like, do I just put my, like I was like watching people, like what are they doing?
Right.
Yeah. And then yeah, I mean I didn't win.
Yeah.
I didn't even know how to, then I was like trying to pull the thing and like that it like was just for a prop. So I was like, I wasn't doing it. And there were buttons and I didn't know what the buttons did. I just kind of like pushed each button once and then it was like, you're done.
Yeah.
And I got 7 cents. I hit cash out and it gave me a ticket that said 7 cents. So
it was a penny slot machine where the max bet was $3 a pull. And I mean, look, I don't know much more than Jessie.
Yeah.
But it ended up being that like she pressed max once or twice and then it was all gone.
Yeah, I don't understand what happened.
I don't know why it's a penny slot machine, but you were able to lose $3 a spin. But the idea is that like there are all sorts of different ways you can make matches, diagonal, across, whatnot. And so you did hit once
I
for
did
like
hit one match.
60 cents.
Right.
And then whatever, it was gone pretty much immediately after that.
I mean, and honestly, it was fine. Like I don't know. It was like I had either a 10 or a 20 in my wallet. And I was like, well, I'm not putting a 20 into a slot machine. So I'll put the 10 in and I'll probably be able to play this for I don't know how long. I don't know what I was expecting.
I mean,
I'm glad I did it. It was a fun experience. I feel like I have some information for the next time. I'd like to go back post-COVID and spend some time there and yeah, I don't know. See what it's really like.
Yeah. Yeah.
It seems fun. I said when we were there, cut this out if you don't want it shared, but I said I want to be able to come back here after COVID and really have a fun time like you're supposed to have. And then you said casinos aren't fun. They're not made for fun. And I didn't know what you meant by that, but
Well, why don't you elaborate now? The slot machine thing doesn't really appeal to me because I don't know how to play them well enough, but ultimately it just feels like I'm just slowly getting drained of money.
Yeah.
I mean, there are card games too. I don't mind the card games. It's just not necessarily something that's for me.
Yeah. Well, I think the other thing about the slots.
Yeah.
I understand what you're saying. But I think the other thing about the slots that I thought was going to be more fun, I thought it was more like the whammy game.
Uh-huh.
You know how like I thought you could kind of like time it.
Yeah, no.
Whereas like you just push a button and then it goes and it's random and like you really just have no control.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there
Maybe
may be
it's
some
more
that's
fun
more
if I had
timing or give you the illusion of timing.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know that the whammy really has that much, but it feels like you can control. Like once you see the whammy, you stop and then
Yeah. I mean, the whole area feels like a really nice lobby.
Yeah.
Like, you know, the carpets are very clean. Everything, it seemed like they were doing a great job trying to keep the casino clean.
Yeah.
Thank goodness.
They also had a bunch of like plexiglass set up like between every single machine and like they had some that were just like closed off and like it did seem like they were doing a good job like with all the requirements.
And then the third part of the area was the casino or the racetrack, which we didn't even really know that we were going to be able to see. It just so happened as we were leaving, we decided to go up to the top floor, and then there's a smoking area where you can see the racetrack.
Yeah.
And so that was nice to be able to.
Yeah, so that's good to know too, because whenever there's a race, we could just go into the casino and you can just see the race from above.
Yeah. Well, I imagine that the entry to the racetrack isn't very expensive anyway. You know?
Oh, actually, that's a good point. I don't think I wrote it down, but in my research, I read that at one point, I think it was in the 80s or 90s, was there someone named Spitzer in charge?
Elliot Spitzer.
Yeah.
Who was...
he was like a...
He was the disgraced governor.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I thought he like got in trouble.
Yes.
He was going to close the aqueduct.
Yeah, and they were going to make the Belmont the big attraction.
Right. But then the people in Queens in that area fought to keep it open because it was known as sort of like the working man's racetrack. The Belmont was known as like the fancy one. So what you're saying about it being like a cheap admission price is probably true.
Yeah.
Or at least was at the time. It was like an affordable place where people could go
yeah.
and have a nice time.
It's considered a second-tier racetrack.
Yeah.
But there are tiers below.
Sure, that makes sense. Yeah.
And it is in operation right now. In fact, there were races today. We didn't get there.
It was at a weird time for us. They were at 1:30 and we could either have gotten there at like 11 a.m. or when we did get there, which was like 5:30. So.
Yeah. So
we missed it.
Yep.
But
that's okay. We can go back again.
Yeah.
And I'm glad we got to see the track because Belmont is closed right now, so you don't get the chance to see it.
Which I think is maybe partially because of COVID, but also it seems like Belmont runs for half the year and Aqueduct runs for the other half
it's
the
not
year.
COVID related.
Okay.
The whole horse racing scene is based around different tracks alternating between being on and off.
Right.
So, yeah.
I think this might be a good time to transition to you telling me about Belmont, but before we do that, can I give you a couple fun facts about Aqueduct that I wanted to share?
Sure.
Okay. So Aqueduct is the site of the first and only triple dead heat for the win in a stakes race. I'm not sure exactly what I just said. No, I think I'm pretty sure that like dead heat means that there was an exact tie.
Uh-huh.
And a triple dead heat means there was a 3-way exact tie.
Yeah, okay. Wow.
And it was in 1944.
Mm-hmm.
And do you want to know the horse's 3 names?
Yes.
That's always the best part. Carter Handicap.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wait, no. The Carter Handicap was the name of the race.
Okay. Sure.
Okay. The horses were named Brownie,
Brownie,
Basu,
Basu.
and wait a bit.
Wait a bit.
The 3 of them hit the finish line at exactly the same time.
Wow.
And then in 2006, in the Wood Memorial Stakes, a rare event happened when dead heats for each of the 3 money positions happened in 3 separate races. Isn't that great? So do you understand that? So the dead heat is, again, like a tie.
Right.
And so there was a tie for win, place, and show in 3 separate races.
Wow. That's strange.
So strange.
Yeah.
Okay. And then just 2 more things.
Okay.
There's a Hall of Fame horse named Cigar.
Yeah.
And he had a 16 race win streak. And the first 2 of those were at the Aqueduct.
Okay. Great.
That's kind of a big deal. And then also Secretariat. You know him, right?
That's
Heard
right.
of him?
Yes.
He's a famous champion racehorse.
Yes, he is.
And he was retired at the Aqueduct in 1973 before the public.
There you go.
It says, he was paraded for the last time to the public and took his last steps on a racetrack there. He was then sent to stud at Claiborne Farm.
Very good.
We all know what that means.
Yes.
So those are the fun facts that there was also something about Pope John Paul II doing a bunch of masses there for a period of time.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think I went and saw it.
Really?
Well, it seems like I remember seeing him at Belmont.
Oh, interesting. Maybe he went there too.
It seems unlikely.
He was a pope of the people.
He was a pope that people liked.
Yeah. But because the Aqueduct is like the people's, like the working man's.
Yeah.
It
seems strange. No, I understood.
Oh,
it seems
didn't like it.
It seems unlikely that he would perform both racetracks a few miles apart. Probably I was at the Aqueduct.
Yeah.